Imagine you find a tech company that's small and specifically works on building quantum resistant cybersecurity chips before the rest of the world is even talking about it to begin with. Only few are talking about it. That's exactly the type of situation that stock SealsQ ticker LAES is in at this very moment. The big question you got to be asking yourself is this actually a hidden opportunity for buying, or is this just hype like a bunch of other tech stocks out there? In this video, you and I are going to be breaking down exactly what SealsQ does, the bull and bear case for this stock, and the key things you should be watching for before making any decision in regards to this stock. Now, again, full disclaimer, this is not financial advice. This is purely for entertainment purposes, as I do hold shares of LAES. So please do your due diligence and do thorough research before making any decisions with your long-term, with your long-term portfolio or any shorter-term trades. And if you do enjoy breakdowns on small caps tech stocks, feel free to hit the subscribe button as we do this numerous times. I schedule 5 videos per week with breakdowns just like this one in this video. And please feel free to check out my free community on InvestQ, where we have like-minded investors that post their own specific findings in the stock market with their research, and everybody's just trying to get insight from each other and try to grow. And that's what I'm trying to do, is grow my community to where all of you can grow with me. Now, to understand SealsQ, you first need to understand the problem that the company is trying to solve at this very moment. There's lots of need in the world right now for cybersecurity. And cybersecurity itself relies on encryption systems that protect things in the nature of financial transactions, government data, and your personal information online. Because there's lots of problems in regards to scams, hackers. Everybody knows that everybody has issues where, they have fraud on their card. People are worried about their crypto being taken from their hardware in their crypto wallets, things of that nature. Now, many experts do say, and there's many people out there that specifically in the in the whole realm of quantum computers, is that they believe that quantum computing itself could break today's encryption methods. And there's many other quantum computing companies that are out there in the hype media and the social media, like QBTS, IonQ. You got what's the other one? Riggedy as well. There's a bunch of other ones, and I'm a personal fan of quantum computing, just disclaimer. But in regards to the world's need for cybersecurity, that's exactly what SealsQ is trying to do, and that's how they're trying to step in and trying to add value to the market, specifically with quantum computing. Now, what they actually do specifically, when you get into all the details with it, is they focus on semiconductors and post-quantum cryptography. In simple terms, of what I'm trying to get at is they create security chips and encryption systems designed to service the quantum computing realm. Now, their technology could potentially be used for IoT devices, digital identity systems, connected vehicles, and secure communications. So when you look at this company from the big idea investor and you look at it in a big picture, they are more of a long-term play as well, just like other stocks that I cover in my YouTube channel. And if quantum computing changes cybersecurity, companies solving that problem could become extremely volatile and have lots of catalysts that move it to the upside. That's what we're talking about when it comes to SealsQ LAES. Now, when we're talking about the actual outlook and the actual possibilities for the future of the stock, you got to take into consideration the bull and the bear case. Now, things get interesting because when you look at SealsQ stock, investors are very divided in the direction of the stock and the long-term in the short term, the medium term, and the long term. Some people think this company is a huge early opportunity, but others think it might be overhyped and it's just extremely risky and you shouldn't even bother with it to begin with. So when we look at both sides, specifically start off with the bull side, what you might pay attention when it comes to SealsQ is, first off, they have huge industry potential. quantum computing is a big deal, and it's a big deal in the market. Everybody's talking about it, and a lot of institutions are very interested when it comes to quantum computing. The cybersecurity market is already massive to begin with. So, if they merge both quantum computing and cybersecurity together, that is a good way to position themselves in the long term, because quantum resistant security could become an entirely new industry to begin with when you mesh the two together. And that's some of the stuff that SealsQ is trying to, that's what SealsQ is planning to do long term, obviously. And if the world transitions to post quantum encryption, which I do believe it will in the future, give it time, companies working on the solutions today could be in a very early major technological shift. Second off, there's multiple trends that are colliding with SealsQ itself and LAES. SealsQ operates in areas connected to cybersecurity, semiconductors, IoT security, and quantum computing. These are some of the hottest sectors right now investors are watching for. And the third thing that you got to take into consideration is small companies sometimes deliver huge returns if their technology gains traction. And lastly, this is just a little bit of this isn't the whole realm of financials, but one thing that a lot of people take into mind, have in mind when they talk about SealsQ is the massive amount of cash they have on hand. Currently, they're sitting at a big amount of cash at 425 million. So, as we all know, and we've talked about with Castellum CTM in previous videos, that when you have a big amount of cash on hand and you're not just focusing on day-to-day operations alone and survival of the company, that gives you room to grow and expand the company and to put yourself in a better position to continue to grow. Because when you only focus on survival and that's the only thing that you can afford to do as a company, you are going to be in a position where you're not able to use your resources, use your capital, have some of your staff, look out for, focus on things like maybe marketing. It could be looking to close acquisitions. There's numerous things that companies do to grow, but you won't be thinking about that if you're barely holding on to a thread. With that amount of cash on hand, they have a lot of breathing room to invest in the growth of the company and just overall finding ways to develop the company further within the short term, medium term, and the long term. And it puts them in a position to take more risks. And risk is good for the long term of company, because the biggest risk, I don't know if anyone has ever told you, but I quote that I've heard many times, that the biggest risk to take is to take no risk at all. And with this amount of cash on hand, they most definitely can take calculated risk to grow the company. Now, I do want to hear from you guys, to be clear. So if you do think quantum cybersecurity will become a massive industry in the future, please feel free to comment below, as I do answer every comment in the comment section. And when it comes to the bear case, let's talk about the bear case, because this is where you need to be careful. Again, we never marry a stock in this company. I always preach that you got to look at the bull to bear case, and you have to be as biased, you have to be unbiased as possible with the stock. You got to look at what the potential is for the future, whether if you're a short-term trader or medium-term trader like a swing trader, or you hold trades for a long time and you're a long-term investor. You got to take the green flags and the red flags into consideration. And when we talk about the bear case specifically, first off, this is a small cap company. So when it comes to small cap companies, they're very volatile. They have big fluctuations. And if you are the type of person that gets queasy from high volatility and gets worried about the future of a company, or you struggle to look at a stock long term and the first time you see anything bearish, because as you can see here from a price action perspective, we spiked all the way to 871 and we've shot down as low as $3.30. So some people won't be able to handle that, and then we've had lots of sideways, and there's people that are impatient. So if those are problems that you have, you either got to evaluate the problems with your psychology, or take extra consideration if this is the stock that's built for you within your risk parameters. And from a financial perspective with small cap stocks, you got to understand that the revenue is relatively small compared to larger cybersecurity companies. When you look at the stock from a valuation perspective on future expectations rather than current performance, Yeah, sorry guys. When you look at the valuations, you have to measure it from when you look at it. You have to look at it from a future perspective rather than the current performance. Because if you look at just how it's doing now, and you see how they're scaling, and you see what it is they're trying to accomplish, if you don't have a long-term mentality, you don't look at the valuations from a future expectations, you probably wouldn't be doing you wouldn't hold this stock long term, and you wouldn't do a good job at it, because you would look at what's going on in the current moment, and you'd be like, I'm not too sure. I want a company to show that it already has um that it has execution, and that it's actually doing what it plans to do. If you're not one of the people that likes to get in early, get in first, which I am, you probably aren't good at just looking down the line in the future rather than just only looking at what's going on today. That's all I got to say with that. And when it comes to the second reason why you should be cautious with this stock is quantum computing is a very big it's starting to become a very well, it already is competitive, but the market itself is growing, and quantum computing is a very competitive market. Quantum cybersecurity has become a huge market with big tech companies, and major cybersecurity firms will likely enter the space as well. When you're entering in and investing in a smaller company, you are betting that they are going to be able to compete and keep up and dominate against other massive players in the industry. Third, well, I already mentioned volatility, but just again, to refresh you, volatility, you got to be able to handle volatile markets with stocks like SealsQ, LAES. Now, if you're taking all the considerations into play and you're trying to have a balanced perspective with the stock itself, you got to take a step back and look at SealsQ and ask yourself the real questions here. Those questions specifically is this company specifically in the early stages where they're working on future cybersecurity technology, or is it a speculative stock that hasn't proven itself yet and more than likely is going to just burn itself out regardless of the big amount of cash they have on hand? The answer right now depends not even just about the company itself, it depends on what your risk tolerance is and what your investment strategy is, and the type of investor or trader you are, if you're looking at the short term, medium term, or in the long term, like 5 years plus. So, in closing, guys, what makes stocks like SealsQ, LAES interesting is that you look at a company connected to the same, to some of the biggest quantum computing companies, and some of the companies that have the biggest technological shifts that are happening at this very moment. In the realm of cybersecurity, quantum computing, and secure hardware, but at the same time, companies at this stage have real risks, and uncertainty is a real thing because nothing is guaranteed, and you never know where a company can go. Bankruptcy is a possibility for any company, and no one is ever truly safe if you really think about it. There's always risk on the table. And the most important thing that you can do is research the company, understand the technology, and decide if this fits your investment strategy and your risk parameters. And again, thank you guys so much for staying this long into the video. Please feel free to subscribe and put a comment below. Again, I do answer every single comment that does come my way. And again, link below to my InvestQ community, free of charge completely, and feel free to join anytime that works best for you, and I'll be more than happy to welcome you there. With that being said, guys, InvestQ out. Stay safe, stay green, keep yourself from losing money, and I'll see y'all in the next video.